In effect, when you open a payment channel from your exchange to another, you are connecting to the Internet of Value and helping to create the inter-exchange network that is fundamental to the success of the Internet of Value and the apps that are built on it. So, welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Crypto banks that have shut down are Silvergate and Signature. This is even more impactful than actually Silicon Valley Bank demise, because these two operated the exchange networks that weren't talked about much in the media or by crypto communities, or even much within the industry, but they were there, and they were in operation. Like Silvergate, for example, was in operation since 2019, 2020. Signature banks ran on Fireblocks, and actually Signature banks is still technically running at the moment, but this leaves a vacuum in the whole crypto markets. Now, it probably won't affect too many retail directly, and as what I keep hearing is, oh, they're shutting down all the on-ramps and off-ramps, shutting down all the on and off-ramps. This is temporary. It's only the U.S. And has it changed anything between somebody KYCing AML and getting on? No. The choke points in that whole thing, it still comes down to, if you KYC'd AML, anyone's going to be able to get on and off. And this really disrupts the back-end services. So why is it that Signature and Silvergate was such a big deal? So the closing of the top two cryptocurrency banks within a matter of days could prove to be a giant setback in the future growth of digital assets. Silvergate and Signature ran pioneering blockchain systems that allowed instant commercial transfers in and out of crypto around the clock, 24/7, 365. Silvergate Exchange Network, which debuted in 2017, was the first one, while Signature's Signet was launched 2 years later. Since 2019, the networks provided by these two banks are responsible for moving more than $2 trillion to and from digital asset markets. That's a significant amount of money, considering the whole market cap was only $3 trillion at its highest. And you go back 5 years with the technology, that's what it feels like right now. One of the analysts said, so Signature's Signet is based on technology from a small New York City-based technology firm called Tasset, which is now the only infrastructure player left in the sector. Its technology is still being used by smaller providers, including Customers Bank, Western Alliance, and a couple others. The payment networks remain in operation under Signet Bridge Bank, which was established by the FDIC to assume the liabilities of the failed company. This moment is a crucial juncture for the U.S. banking system, and policymakers need to decide what the system will look like when the dust settles. So basically, they just gutted the back-end settlement systems for the exchanges. That's how we have to look at it. Not that retail is getting choked off or anything like that. This is about the settlement infrastructure. And how I want to relate this to Ripple, because it potentially could tie in, and it's, for me and what I've been researching, it was all too obvious not to point out that, everyone talks about, XRP and bridge currency and global liquidity solution, but they forget everything else. That's really what Ripple is built on. It's not just about XRP, and it's not even just about XRP Ledger. The vision for XRP, for Ripple, and his company building towards, is the Internet of Value. The Internet of Value sits above the XRP Ledger. And we need to, in general, in a way, start, and we're going to talk about this as we go into next week's and the following week's Twitter Spaces, and it's going to be more of a theme, is that applications are where the users will transact and will end up transacting. Not on the blockchains. They'll sit underneath, and more will get abstracted away. And this idea that you're in a tribe that's just with that blockchain, it's all slowly coming to an end. And the Internet of Value, what is it, right? Well, they clearly define it in some documents right on xrpl.org. So, let's just look at the exchange network here. So let's look at all these exchanges tied together. We have Silvergate, Exchange Network, Bitstamp, Paxos, Genesis, ErisX, Circle. Then down there, you're going to see Kraken, Gemini, Binance. So this is all the big players who are able to settle amongst themselves 24/7, 365. But they kind of kept track, maybe it was blockchain based, but it was just a tracking system of debits and credits. That's really what they were doing. It was Coinbase too, and Binance US. Kraken was part of this as well. And Signets is built by Fireblocks. And a lot of people have a thing with Fireblocks that Jay Clayton went there. Well, newsflash for everybody. RippleNet's been integrated with Fireblocks for the past couple years. It's just not well known. Found somebody on LinkedIn, one of their employees. And knowing what Ripple is building, which is a distributed exchange, which supports the Internet of Value, because this is what they're building, and RippleNet is that overlay supporting payments and hosting layer. So right here, XRP LEDER, open a payment channel to enable an inter-exchange network. A payment channel enables you to send one-way asynchronous XRP payments that can be divided into very small increments and settled later. Now, they say XRP only here. And I tried to look, and it's not available yet in the ledger to send IOUs and things like that, but you can through just interledger. So if you think like RippleNet, for example, they're building out ODL Liquidity Hub. They're building out the distributed trading platform. And at the end of this, we're going to go into the wallets. And I'm going to nail down on what they were saying 3 years ago. So that's what was started 3 years ago. But for right now, let's see how this could apply. Because they're saying as a digital asset exchange, so they're talking to the exchanges, if you send many XRP payments to another exchange, you can improve efficiency of these payments by opening an XRP Ledger payment channel between your exchange, which is the payer exchange, and the other exchange, the payee. In this case, of a two-way flow with another exchange. You can open two channels, one for each direction. Now, this happens off-chain and then settles up on the ledger. Now, this is where it got interesting, because connect to the Internet of Value. One of the key requirements of the Internet of Value is interoperability. The ILP, which plays a large role in driving this interoperability, works best when it uses payment channels as its method for rebalancing accounts. If, in effect, when you open a payment channel from your exchange to another, you are connecting to the Internet of Value and helping to create the inter-exchange network that is fundamental to the success of the Internet of Value and the apps that are built on it. So, multiple clues in there of what is going on. There's a clear definition of a tangible, what is the Internet of Value in their eyes? Well, it's this inter-exchange network, which means just rails, right? That's what we're talking about here. And it also means apps can be built on this. So if apps can be built on this, then that goes back to like 2018, 2019. If anyone remembers, when they tried to relaunch Codius and do that with Kava, and then they stuttered and said, let's pull back. But the vision is still the same. Now, RippleNet is the supporting of that for enterprise applications. And you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with XRP? And what does this have to do with XRP Ledger? Well, it doesn't directly, but it sits above, and this is why they need those underlying AMM pools. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying that this is going to replace those inter-exchange networks, because there's another component that you could factor in here with PolySign and AtomicNet, knowing that's a settlement blockchain for settling up and atomically swapping. So yes, XRP could be used as a bridge in ODL, but that's not going to we're not going to see massive trillions or hundreds of billions in volume anytime soon on that. More needs to be done. So tying up the crypto market has been one thing Ripple's been eyes on, right? I mean, this leaves a huge vacuum for them to tie up, even if they don't grab, and create the Ripple exchange network. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but with the case clearing up and clarity on the horizon, they can now be a big facilitator, because once they get clarity, and this is why they're not going to settle, and I've said this for 2 years, well, a year and a half, that they're not going to settle, because they want to be able to be a facilitator and be in the market and have open market operations and bootstrap everything, and then still be a participant. They don't want to step back and not be able to do anything. That would kind of kill their whole business long term. So even if they have connections to PNC Bank, who is interested in buying Silicon Valley, that was one of their early partners, they don't have many U.S. customers now. And Cross River is the other crypto bank who's still in operation. I think they're in New Jersey. They are still in business. And Ashish Birla came out, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, and said, hey, if anyone needs any banking connections or relationships, come see me. So they've obviously, considering that what they do is connect payment rails for banks, you would think they would have many connections in this area where a lot of these VC firms, crypto firms were connected, and exchanges. So exchanges, we're going to see less and less activity. So they're looking in a different direction. I still believe with the idea of tokenization. So how does this tie in to, this is another thing on here about the exchanges, but I don't truly believe that they're trying to take that whole and create another exchange network. I'm just saying there's a vacuum, and when clarity comes, they could grab a piece of this and create new dynamics. And yes, of course, there's probably others who will benefit from this. Now, are they trying to cripple the whole crypto market and break it up? I don't know if anyone actually did this per se. I mean, the banks failed because they failed. Signature is questionable, but that network's still technically operating. But there's still some question marks there. What happened with the guy Barney Frank said that, did the New York State Department of Financial Services just cripple it, or was it had money laundering and other things? So I think it likely had both. You don't necessarily have to have one. But anyways, moving on. Preparing the enterprise for crypto future. This is from 3 years ago. All right. So just important to note here, there's some fantastic insights from like 2-3 years ago that just apply perfectly today. And Ripple is evolving. We're expanding from cross-border payments network to a platform for providing tokenized services that will bring crypto capabilities to the enterprise and prepare them for a future where crypto is front and center. RippleNet was initially built to solve the challenges with speed, cost, and transparency in cross-border payments for those that have been grossly underserved by the financial system at large. Just listen to that whole paragraph there, and I just want everyone to take a step back from that. This is going to be like banks-only payments, institutional payments. Oh, it's just not. It's never really been what they've been building towards, ever. Now, blockchain-based technologies, Ripple is uniquely positioned to partner with enterprises for that future, and there's no question those who don't embrace these new technologies will be left behind. It all starts with the wallet. And this is from that insight, but it's buried at the bottom. And this, I think, tells the whole story here of what they're trying to build. And I've said it for a little while now, is to build, it might not necessarily be the super app to the end user, but it's going to be the super app to connect for everyone else to be able to have those applications that tie everything together. Because just as Flare is building out multiple protocols, multiple infrastructures, a whole blockchain at its core, to create interoperability, you need multiple modules and pieces. So to create a wallet, the same thing. You can't just, spin up a wallet and say, hey, we got the super app. Apple, Google, they're never going to be able to do that. And they would love to, but they can't. And what Ripple has is they've had the network. So by creating RippleNet, you have all those connections into many banks and institutions who maybe not doing crypto now, but they're going to slowly all grab tokenization. So they built a wallet, and this has to have a custody solution then behind it too. It has to have all the fiat rails behind it as well. It has to have the ability to issue assets on it and to be able to keep track of those. So all of this had to be built. As customers were ready to move from fiat only to crypto-enabled flows, we're easily able to add new services and capabilities like ODL and line of credit. And remember, line of credit's 2.5 years been running. In the future, so remember, this is about 2.5 years old, this post right here. Every customer will join RippleNet with the same base service and a wallet designed to support both crypto and fiat. And I have no doubt in my mind, anyone who's joining RippleNet right now is getting a wallet. Absolutely. And it's designed to support both crypto and fiat. By adopting the wallet, customers are now ready to take advantage of the latest blockchain-enabled solutions that keep them at the cutting edge. The platform is designed to seamlessly upgrade and add new services as customers want them. In the future, so once again, they reference the future, customers can use their Ripple-enabled wallet to custody XRP, BTC, stablecoins, and anything that's tokenized. So, custodial distributed network, and that they have the distributed trading platform. And this is all now what RippleNet's building at a higher layer. So I'm trying to go from the top down, and sometimes I talk from the bottom up, like how the XRP LEDER Sidechains. But ultimately, they're going to come together, and the applications are going to sit between both, because one thing that RippleNet can't produce, R3 can't produce, none of those private chains can produce, is a golden source of truth. And that's the one thing that public ledgers will always have that can't be replicated, and why they'll need to be the supporting infrastructure. But will the new financial system be built on layer 1 public blockchains? No. Will they be built on private, segregated, isolated CBDC chains? No. They'll fall somewhere in between. Now, both of those might try to compete, and privacy and open interoperability will win at the end of the day, because it always does when there's a level playing field and we have an open internet. A lot of this is because we have the internet. And the internet didn't have the internet. And that's what blockchain and crypto have now. That's why we have AI exploding. 0 to 100 million users in ChatBTC in 1 month. That's unbelievable. I encourage everyone to listen to Raoul Powell's recent video. It was phenomenal. And it shows how sometimes, because we could get stuck, and I can too. Sometimes you get stuck just looking from one perspective, and you see, regulations are going to kill everything. The banks are collapsing. They don't want crypto. It doesn't matter what they want. I still adamantly feel they can want whatever they want, elite this, elite that. The technology is going to come, and it's going to steamroll whatever's in front of it, no matter what. Now, how that's adopted and how it's utilized, that's a different question. But the technology is going to come and steamroll everything. If it's AI, if it's different composability protocols, if it's interoperability, if it's machine learning, if it's Internet of Things, 6G, that's coming. Like, no matter what. Zero knowledge proofs, like, those things are coming to steamroll whatever's in front of it going forward. So I look at this as like Ripple's been building. You've been hiring so many people. You've been building out 2 divisions. Now, one is dedicated strictly to the crypto market, because they are parallel systems right now. But we need to start onboarding And Flare and Ripple are similar in this way because they both want to build applications that solve real problems that are for consumer-based. Maybe they're not directly impacting consumer, but they're building the application, the infrastructure, so that their customer offers it to the retail. So I don't think that's really understood. I think people think like banks can send all this money to each other and use XRP as a bridge. It's not going to happen. That was 2016. Those days are over. I'm just being real. I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of research. I can't even name how many hours, but it's been so many. And this is just what I keep seeing. And you could see over time, if you go back to the beginning of Ripple, the vision's always been the same, the internet of value. And I try to stay grounded to certain core things that haven't changed, that are the same. Just like helping people learn and educate knowledge, the same thing with Ripple. They've not deviated. They've taken different paths to how they do things, and they did a ban in a ledger because of the FinCEN fine. But now they've been ramping up all this development for when this case clears up. And they get, all it needs is XRP's non-unregistered security. Boom. The next crypto run, XRP Ledger, needs to take considerable market share from Ethereum, or it's not going to be a bridge currency. It's not going to be a solution. It's not going to be a liquidity anything, because it has to dominate the crypto market first. There's no jumping to the front of the line. One other thing I did want to say that I really found fascinating, and it's interesting. It's not to me, but it's not like going to have an impact tomorrow. Darren Moore put out this awesome. He found the video of the David Schwartz speech, which I found years back, of him talking to the IMF, BIS, and all these entities about how CBDCs and the global payment system should work. And it was like a mic drop moment. It might have been his best speech I've ever seen him deliver in his delivery. And he was just off that ankle surgery. And he basically said, you're not going to be able to squeeze everything on some private ledger and have everyone interact on there and make it work. And what does the IMF do 3 years later? Let's put everything on some private ledger and everyone interact here. And it's never going to work. They'll try, and I said this back then, I said they'll test everything. They'll test every way possible, and they'll continue testing. And eventually, the smaller countries like the Singapores, Switzerlands, the Japans are going to realize, wait, we could build new types of applications if we open this up, because who's going to want to hold the other one, CBDC? And he even said, he's like, besides all those other problems, you need something in a way neutral. And even if it's not just XRP, the ability to go seamlessly between assets is going to be important. And what have we seen since he said that speech? The whole DeFi and DEXs and AMMs have blown up. Now, the XRP Ledger's AMM probably is going to be huge, but it's not going to be the only one. Uniswap is going to be there, and it'll probably just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will be these pools of liquidity that people could tap into, but the key here is that they're permissionless. And he's always maintained that vision that they're public pools of liquidity, public keyword, that anyone can contribute to or draw off. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't have compliance built in, but they're public. And the network level, it doesn't have compliance built in, but it's built in indirectly, because if you're going to trade XRP to USD, well, you have to have an issuer. Well, who's the issuer? Some bank entity or any institution. Well, they have a trust line. You want their asset? They issued? Well, then you're going to have to set up a trust line to them. Oh, KYC comes with that trust line. KYC. So now you build in a KYC decentralized system that will allow for verification without having to give up the privacy. Boom. Compliant in the network layer, though. It's key that it's in the network layer. Now, people won't be interacting with that directly. There'll be applications built on top on the Internet of Value layer that then tap down into that. And they might even be centralized applications. But they underneath it, any application or any protocol or any institution, any retail can tap those pools and can provide liquidity. So now you have this assortment of applications that users might not see anything underneath, but they see an interface where they could earn, 6% yield and contribute to liquidity. This is why the securities laws are holding the industry back, because the aggregating of somebody's assets and then it's a liquidity pool is kind of like staking. So that's something that I think will just give way. Now, in the meantime, though, you could just offer directly to, okay, you take the user's assets and they go into the liquidity pool. And now they get that LP token back. But it would be so much smoother a process if they could aggregate it. I'm talking like an institution here, or like a broker. Think of like Morgan Stanley, Schwab, any of those traditional fidelities. Hey, put your XRP here, we'll pay you 8%. And I don't know if the banks and them are going to be able to do that, but the exchanges can't. Whatever, doesn't really matter. Because they could still offer those services, but retail will still be able to participate in a decentralized way. So the key here being is DeFi and all those things will persist, but how do you build the institutional layer on top, like what SBI and JP Morgan tested? We talked about it a few months ago. That is kind of like the tokenized world with DeFi is huge. Like that's the market they're going for. Why have they switched up? Why are they not just hammering the cross-border payments and just keep going at it? They obviously pivoted because they're like, wait, we need to build all this out because so when the tokenized world comes, which is coming, they're prepared. And it's going to be a little longer, but there's no like end to this whole thing. It's ongoing. And it's going to be in 2 years. We'll see probably. I think that the next run in crypto will be very different. It's not going to be this massive utility run that people, talk about. Because utility, I don't think is well understood. It could be for XRP, but the community's going to take a little while. But it means people being able to have a nice interface dApp where they can interact with and stake their liquidity, but they don't got to worry about the keys. They don't got to worry about all this. But then they don't have to trust anybody, or like a semi-trusted. We need more solutions like that, and just institutional custody quality if we want to pay for it, and insurance if we want to pay for it. Those things need to be there, and they'll bring more people in. Now, having this setback with the crypto banks is interesting because the U.S., the numbers are staggering. The amount of users that are from the U.S. that are DeFi, it's the biggest. It's still baffling to me. It's like, well, you're trying to kill DeFi as much as you can. You're trying to stop all this, but the most users are from the U.S. and the most values come from the U.S. It's like you have the opportunity, but they just won't give in. And like, what's his name? I forgot his name, but it's going to be rammed down the U.S.'s throat because all it's going to take next is the third world countries are going to start catching on that anyone who has a phone is going to be able to access all this. And soon, when 6G comes in a couple of years, everyone who has a phone to have a node, then this is an explosion. I mean, it's over then. This just proliferates through. These networks get so powerful and so robust when everyone can have a node on their phone. You're not stopping that. Like that's something that's infrastructure that just doesn't come down for a long time. And with things like Starlink, then you don't even have to worry about EMPs and other things that could take out these networks if they could run there and connect there. And recent project on the XRP Ledger doesn't even need to connect to the internet to send payments. SMS messages, that's it. And they've always had that capability, which, I think has always been very interesting, and it's always been kind of a mystery how I know they can't do the settlement right away. It's delayed, but they're able to use it through ILP or however they do it with the SMM messages, probably payment channels. So a lot of things are not known with the ledger, but escrow, multi-sig, payment channels are all considered like smart contract type activities because they can be embedded with crypto conditions. And then it comes down just to the oracles again. Well, who decides on what the condition has been met or not? And that's just kind of like fitting in an oracle. Something like the FTSO, something like Stake Connector would fit perfectly, and then would give the actual ledger itself certain smart contract capabilities that are decentralized. Because right now an escrow is time-based or condition-based, but who determines the condition? The time is the time. We could do that, and they do that right now with the Ripple escrow. But it's not really used much else. And then there's this distributed trading platform. So this is why Ripple, I knew when I saw that, I was like, they'll never settle. They're so involved in the open market operations here, and they have to be. To bootstrap what they're doing, they have to be. And their partners, the one thing that is unsure, and, there could be different views on this. And, I think some people are very bullish, and I think some people are not as bullish. I'm kind of in the middle, and I'm still not sure. Is Ripple going to be the driving force behind XRP's rise with RippleNet and ODL? I don't know. Is it going to be that, or is it going to be, we start to see other entities come in, and not saying that's taken from Ripple or anything like that, just that, are they going to have enough to push forward with ODL and just remittance payments and stuff, and get enough turnover there to where we have 45 corridors open right now? So a lot of people would have said 2-3 years ago, well, if we have 45 corridors open, why hasn't this impacted price? Because Tranglo is kind of facilitating a lot of it, and there's other entities. But I just think it's just certain things have been hampered. One, the case. But even if the case wasn't there, it just seems like there's definitely a little more pushback on the regulatory side than expected. And now this past year has been a whole new ballgame. But the next wave is going to come, and the tokenization's coming regardless, because we're at a point where, that has to come. Because the only answer I see to this world is capital formation. I do think that we could see banks issue digital dollars that have accounts at the Fed. I do think that's where this ultimately goes. It's the only logical answer. And I know everything doesn't play out logically. And then all the dollars are equal. There's no branding on a stable coin, branding on this. And the central banks are living in a little fantasy world. And then somebody mentioned it earlier. Maybe it was GBK. Some of these countries could say, we want just a sovereign digital currency. We don't want a central bank. Why can't our treasury issue it? That changes the whole game then. I mean, we don't talk about that much, but it was brought up at the BIS summit last year with DeFi. And we need more decentralized stuff. So, but the DeFi things can't get built out with just using crypto's value of speculation. We need more real world assets, even if they're synthetic assets, to bring more value in. Because like Hugo said it, I think even David Schwartz said it, you're just sitting here on speculation trying to do all this. It's not going to work. But everybody who's in crypto community says like, oh yeah, I want the price to go up, but they don't want to do anything. So utility run's only going to happen if the communities get involved and more users come in and more applications then tap into the masses and could be using that underlying ecosystem. But it's got to be an ecosystem built out. Not everything has to use XRP for the price to go up. And, a lot of the grants that they gave out didn't even have to do with them using XRP directly, but building out an NFT marketplace now. Then building out the AMMs, building out the sidechains. That's what's going to proliferate outward. I still think that's the driving force in the next 12 months. And hopefully we see some enterprise DeFi that can then tap into those pools, because they have the ability with ODL to pump market takers into the system. Uniswap doesn't have a stream of market takers that volume can just go through. And remember, this is all pathfinding, auto bridging. Every technology that RippleNet says they have is founded in the underlying protocol. The value is in the protocol still. And running those through the AMMs would then continuously allow a stream. What's important about that? Because then that encourages people to stake the liquidity because they could earn the fees. And this whole idea of a price set is just because it's so frustrating. David Schwartz has said this will harvest volatility for yield. You get an LP token back. Any institution can easily take that LP token and hedge. Complete volatility gone. There's no need for no price set. There's no need for no rise and any of that stuff. That's all just nonsense. And it's actually annoying, very annoying, because it's a misdirection from where we're going, because he's given us the answers. These are the answers.
It should reap as its own profit a significant fraction of what the arbitrage would make. So the pool charges for arbitrage rights. And it does it using its own liquidity tokens as the currency by which you buy these arbitrage slots, and it destroys them when they're paid to the pool. So arbitrageurs who want those arbitrage slots have to acquire liquidity tokens either by putting money into the pool or buying them from other people, and then they're destroyed And if there are fewer liquidity tokens outstanding, the value of each one goes up because it's a claim against the assets of the pool. Now, another thing that happens is volatility. So external prices change, right? The price of XRP changes, the price of Bitcoin changes. That means the value of the assets the pool holds changes. And that drives up both arbitrager activity. There's only an opportunity to arbitrage if the price is out of whack. One source of the price being out of whack would be changes in the price. But also natural ledger activity, people making payments and offers. All of these things trade against the AMM instance, and the AMM makes a spread. But there's something else going on that's almost more exciting, which is volatility is harvested by the automated market maker. Normally, volatility just results in risk and a reduction in yield. But here, it's a gain in yield. The automated market maker actually implements a trading strategy that converts volatility into yield. And if you think about what an automated market maker does, when the price goes up, it sells, and when the price goes down, it buys. That strategy, if you imagine if you hold Apple stock and the price goes up and you sell, and then the price goes back down and you buy, you make a profit. If the price goes down and you buy and the price goes back up, you make a profit, and you sell, you make a profit. That's what an automated market maker does all day long. In addition, the automated market maker leverages the XRP ledger's inherent advantages. The XRP ledger has very, very fast transactions. The XRP ledger has very, very low transaction cost. These are things that will drive up the revenue and the efficiency of the automated market maker. So if the price of XRP goes up or down, and then it comes back in just a few seconds, if you were on a blockchain like Ethereum, there's no way that you could harvest that volatility because your transactions take several minutes to confirm. There's just no way that you can make that work. But because it is so fast, the trading algorithm can convert volatility into yield much, much more.
And we're going to talk more about this. And, you know, obviously we're going to cover Flare, but I do want to just make sure that we know what's coming with the sidechains and AMM, because it's not really known in the community, and I haven't done too much to put it out there quite yet, because it was still been far off. So until it's like ready to happen, you know, I mean, I've made videos and done things, but I haven't made a big push for things like that because it's still too far away. But as sidechain amendment, when it starts to get proposed, then that's the time when everyone's got to wake up. Like this EVM sidechain, we're going to have four. So we'll have the EVM sidechain built on Tendermint and Cosmos SDK running EVM smart contracts. XRP is going to be a staking token. It will be used, that's probably likely what Forte will be. That's going to be a powerhouse into the Cosmos ecosystem. And then you're going to have the root network built on Substrate, EVM smart contracts. Connects right into Ethereum, connects right into the XRP ledger's AMM. Going to have a huge metaverse, gaming, everything. That's going to be massive. Then you have the Hook smart sidechain, which is not going to be EVM, but it's going to allow for the accounts to get programmability. And then in a layer 2, Evernodes will be able to run any decentralized hosting that you want. And that's going to be a sidechain, but we don't know exactly if it's going to be a sidechain as a test to then get implemented on the main ledger and replace the federators and the witness servers. How that's going to be implemented, we don't know. But it's coming. They're in version 3. So that's ready to launch soon. So once the sidechains come, you're going to see other sidechains. They're already done. Then you have the Hook smart sidechain, which is not going to be EVM, but it's going to allow for the accounts to get programmability. And then in a layer 2, Evernodes will be able to run any decentralized hosting that you want. And that's going to be a sidechain, but we don't know exactly if it's going to be a sidechain as a test to then get implemented on the main ledger and replace the federators and the witness servers. How that's going to be implemented, we don't know. But it's coming. They're in version 3. So that's ready to launch soon. So once the sidechains come, you're going to see other sidechains. They're already done. Like the libraries are done. Python, JavaScript, Rust, they're already built. They got the AMM implemented already. So these are, and the sidechains, these aren't far off things. They're ready to go. It's just a matter of proposing them and having the entities in place, because anyone can launch a private sidechain right now. And then when the XRP ledger launches, connect up. But how do you connect? How do they even have consensus? If you don't do a proof of stake network, how do you get the validators together? How do you decentralize it? So that's what I think the process is going on right now. How do you connect that all to the main ledger and tap into that decentralization that's in the main ledger and create more and trustlessness? So that's coming. And then you have the AMMs, which will be able to tap into any application. And I would have to think that these applications will span over multiple different sidechains. And you won't even know what you're on. It's more of the application interface, because that's what people are used to dealing with. Is in Web 2, you deal with one interface. That's what you're on. It's web, mobile, whatever. You can do everything on there. We're used to like Wallet Connect. You got to go to this thing, to that thing. Remember these keys, write that down. That's too much for the masses. But at the same time, I do think that there is another wave of people that will enter crypto that will have some tech skills. And even with things like AI coming out to help people, I wouldn't count everybody out. So I think we'll still see a DeFi boom going forward. But there's definitely an opportunity for certain platforms and certain networks, since it's still early days on these networks. Like, you still have one or two big infrastructure providers building on them, like Ripple, like, Flare. But in the future, 5-10 years, there'll be 10, 20. I mean, they'll be just public infrastructure, you'll think of them as. And nobody controls them. We're already getting that kind of Ethereum. They have tens of thousands of validators. That's a lot. I mean, everyone wants to, call Ether security, this or that. You got tens of thousands of validators. That's just like, it's almost laughable. The New York State Department of Security, they could say whatever they want. Doesn't mean it is. Same goes for the XRP Ledger. Gary could say whatever he wants. The Supreme Court could say whatever he wants. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't make it so. It still operates as it operates because nobody has control. I'll leave off with this. The underlying thing is, if you remember, all of these underlying protocols are open, permissionless, and public. And they have native protocols built into them that can't be changed. That's what gives them value. If they didn't have that, they wouldn't have value in any way, shape, or form. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be pushback on regs to try to, crack down on DeFi and certain things. Even the FSB put out a report, but it held off from giving any rules or definitions. The MiCA rules in the EU are pretty friendly towards DeFi and crypto. The UK look like they're going to be pretty friendly towards crypto. So the US is not going to lead. They're going to just have to adapt. And by keeping it gray, I think it's just the inevitable. It's delaying here going forward. So the Ripple case can have a big impact. And I wouldn't expect anything till administration change, because this administration is not doing anything. Who knows with the next one, depending whoever it is. I do think that we'll see significant. And even Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. So I'll play this video to leave off.
Crypto is going to outlast any administration, any official who has the wrong idea or whatever. And so we can go through good periods and bad periods as long as we keep building. And then the people who are engaged enough on the civic side who want to do it, that's great. The people who just want to build, that's also great. We need both. I think we'll get there eventually.
On the DEX platform, Ripple's engineering team is designing an expansion to XRP Ledger's order book DEX to include an automated market maker, offer better user experience, and greater liquidity to this long tail of tokens. Liquidity providers will get better returns through the inherent execution advantages of the XRP Ledger that I just mentioned, and a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits normally lost to arbitrage, and it will be bolstered by incentive programs. Execution advantages of the XRP Ledger that I just mentioned, and a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits normally lost to arbitrage, and it will be bolstered by incentive programs. Traders will get better pricing and better order execution due to integration with existing order books. They won't have to change anything they do. You'll be able to execute the same payment and trading transactions on the XRP Ledger. You'll get more liquidity and better payment and trade execution. This is because the XRP Ledger already supports cross-asset payments, and it supports cross-asset payments through multiple paths. So one of the problems with a cross-asset payment, let's say I'm spending XRP to pay somebody Bitcoin, is I'm going to draw down an order book, or I'm going to push the market against me. I'm going to take the cheapest liquidity first, and then I'm going to have to move to more expensive liquidity. The XRP Ledger has multi-path payments that can draw down liquidity from multiple sources. And that will include the various automated market makers. So for example, if I'm going from XRP to USD, I can go directly from XRP to USD through an automated market maker order book, but I could also go XRP Bitcoin USD, XRP Ethereum USD through these multiple paths. And if I draw down multiple paths at the same time, I don't have to move the market as much, and so I can get a better rate. Done right, automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other dexes. Key time, I don't have to move the market as much, and so I can get a better rate. Done right, automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other dexes.
But what are those other dexes that they're going to leapfrog? Uniswap? Hope you enjoyed. I know we didn't talk too much about the banking and other stuff, but this hopefully gives you a little idea of how the interledger, and we got to keep an eye on that. So last thing is just that keep an eye on open payments, Rafiki, interledger still getting built out. Tiger Beetle is like the financial accounting database that's going to underpin all of this. That's 3 years of trialing and testing, and in its final stages right now in corporate development. So that's all being built. So just because Coil went and fizzled, Stephen Thomas has already been building DASI and all other things that are going to work with the open interledger network. And Finboss will be the wallet that will allow for account to fiat transfers. I don't know if they can integrate with crypto per se right away, so we got to wait and see on that. But I know they have a banking relationship, and it's built by the guy Adrian Hope Bell from Interledger. So those are things you don't hear much about, but they're coming the next couple of months. And I expect after this case, I would be very surprised if there's not a huge ramp up in marketing, a ramp up in development, and just a pretty big push by partners of Ripple and who we planned to use XRP and just couldn't. And really focus on the ledger itself, on the protocol, and less on the speculation and other things. But to do that, we're going to need applications, and I bet you'll hear more voices from the community coming out from Ripple X that push back against this whole whack narrative of stuff that goes on in the community, because the reputation that I think we're starting to get outside from other communities is, not good. Let's put it that way. Might get a lot of views, might be an interesting story, but they're embarrassing, all of us, to other communities. So I think that's just something to be aware of, that we're, in line with the rest of the crypto space. Also, we're not going to attract others to come into the space because they'll be turned off by some of the extremism. So try not to buy into that.